Deep in the heart of Rata Primus, we get a glimpse of a vicious hunter, the Necromancer. Known to hunt in packs, the Necromancer use their flesh minions to devour their prey with little to no effort of their own. These awakened inquest do not know what awaits them mere meters down this ramp. 30 necromancers lie in waiting to consume them for their precious totems. A hunter with a similar technique can be found in the outskirts of the Modri Caverns. Some people believe this specimen to have a much higher intellect than that of the necromancer, however, they are equally as dim-witted. What we find is the engineer. Using their scrap turrets and jade robots, the engineers bunker down in the middle of a pristine patch of nature, only to obliterate every living species that comes within shooting distance. Their main target is the crown-leafed fanged iboga, a plant-like serpent known for its hallucinogenic properties.
Over the past month, I have been investigating and researching AFK farming within Guild Wars 2. AFK farming has been surrounded by misconceptions, misunderstandings, incorrect information, and quite simply lies for years. I will be covering how much gold AFK farmers truly make, as well as the impacts it has and if it is okay to do so. I am not claiming that AFK farming is destroying Guild Wars 2, I am simply forwarding my discoveries and you are free to make up your own conclusions at the end. For those who don't know, AFK farming in very simple terms is the act of idling in a location to kill enemies for rewards without interacting with the game. Common forms include autocasting abilities or refreshing engineer turrets. To get it out of the way, AFK farming is not permitted in any way, shape or form. Here's why. The general policy on unattended gameplay states, while not actively playing the game, you must not autocast abilities to farm, use macros to automate skills or repeat events, use third-party programs to bot, and you must not perform actions, participate in content, or otherwise engage in the world while not actively playing the game. This policy is not perfect, and AFK farmers skew some of the words in their favour. What does actively playing the game actually mean? GM Xylo clarified the policy in depth. You will be inactively playing the game once you're playing the game and doing other activities on your computer. Example, farming monsters in-game while watching movies, etc. Any form of unattended gameplay is prohibited. You must be attended at all times and operated independently on your account. So you must be operated independently to be classified as actively playing. All AFK methods fail to comply with these conditions. Simply put, if you are not pressing the buttons to kill the enemy, you are breaking the terms of service. To further elaborate, the game's previous head of security, Chris Cleary, made a forum comment on AFK farming that gives us even more clarity. The autocast feature is never intended to be used as an AFK farming mechanism. It is not to be used to facilitate unattended gameplay. He goes on to state that the auto-loot mastery is bugged and unintentionally resetting the AFK flag timer, which prevents AFK players from being logged out automatically after an hour. Chris also adds another important variable to AFK farming. Is the player AFKing in a place beneficial to be at? This would be AFKing or idling in a location to kill enemies or complete events for the reward. AFK farming is essentially botting. No one is actively controlling the account, and the game is autonomously farming with passive effects and minion AI. A good point to make here is that you cannot be actively playing the game while only using passive effects. Lastly, there is a documented case from the European servers of an AFK farmer getting banned while working on a spreadsheet on their second monitor. Translated from German, support replied, "Hello, AFK farming in this game is not tolerated. If you want to be a part of the game, you have to play actively. Those are the rules." And as yourself stated, on the second screen, doing work is not actively playing. Even I, working at ArenaNet, do not have the possibility to actively play Guild Wars 2. When we see that everything is automated, we won't whisper players in-game. If you want to prevent further bans, play the game actively. It is made clear that monitoring passive gameplay while doing other tasks on the computer is not actively playing. If you are alt-tabbed doing work, you are not actively playing. If you are only monitoring the game while watching a movie, you are not actively playing. If you are only refreshing engineer turrets every 5 minutes, you are not actively playing the game for the 5 minutes in between. If you are not pressing the skills to kill the enemies, you are breaking the rules. It is an incredibly simple concept that AFK farmers fail to follow. It is all against the terms of service, as confirmed by GM Xylo and the general policy. With that out the way, let's get into some data that I have collected. Starting on the 21st of April, I began observing AFK farmers on the North American servers. A good friend of mine, Beyond the Wall, and some of the Reddit community did a fantastic job of collecting possible AFK farmer locations which I could check several times per day. I made this easy on myself by parking my characters at each spot to rotate through. I also discovered several other active locations while doing map completions. The main metrics that I noted for each AFK farmer were account name, class, location, date, farming method, and if they were a part of a multi-box farm. There are 4 different farming methods that I recorded: idle or AFK, where minions or turrets do 100% of the killing; autocasting, where an AoE skill is autocast consistently; macroing, where an additional skill is being macroed on top of the autocast skill; and then there's scripting, where the player is essentially a fully functional bot, casting multiple skills at a constant rate and sometimes even moving or teleporting around the map. Thankfully, these are rare to see. As for being a part of a multi-box farm, multiboxing is the act of launching multiple Guild Wars 2 accounts on a single computer in order to play multiple accounts at once. This alone is well within the terms of service and is perfectly okay to do. However, the accounts must be attended at all times, following the same rules as elaborated earlier. Multibox's AFK farming are especially bad, as all profits are being funneled directly to one main account, often not farming in order to avoid being banned. Many multi-boxers will share a common theme with their accounts or character names, sometimes even naming them exactly the same thing. Other indicators are sharing the same guild name or character design. It can be quite clear to see which accounts are related. We'll come back to multi-boxing when evaluating profits. Looking at the farming methods, locations, and quantity of players, we can see that engineers and necromancers make up the vast majority of AFK farmers. Living World Season 4 maps are the most populated, as enemies killed drop volatile magic which can be traded in for Tier 6 materials for additional profits on top of the monster drops. Core tier maps, however, are still relatively active. There is a positive trend in the amount of AFK farming accounts being observed. However, as of the most recent weeks, this appears to be plateauing between 110 and 150 players observed daily. Please remember that this is on North American servers only. European servers have a slightly higher player base, and it is also likely that there are dozens, if not hundreds more AFK farmers in locations that I am yet to discover. Accounting for this, the daily observed players could easily be 2.5 to 3 times higher game-wide. Quite possibly, the biggest lie about AFK farming is how much they make.
A lot of these spots make 1 to 2 gold an hour tops. Like, they're not going to be killing these material prices.
Near as we can tell, an AFK farmer in a good location can generate about 3 gold worth of materials per hour.
We often hear that they are making 3 gold an hour, maybe 6 gold at the high end. Through my investigation, I can confirm that this is completely false. I mirrored AFK farmers' builds and tagged their enemies in each major farming location I could find. We'll start off small. Many AFK farmers kill a bogus, especially in Istan. In my time pretending to be a turret engineer, I profited 8.14 gold per hour. I then set out with my minions and killed some awakened with this obnoxious autocasting necromancer blob. I made 14.22 gold per hour. I wanted to see why people were killing these little cactus people in corner. I set up my engineer just like the farmers I see, and I made 22.01 gold per hour. Assuming I got extremely lucky, halving that rate is still 11 gold an hour. One relatively hidden farm in Corteria piqued my interest. I set up there and discovered it actually abuses some event spawn mechanics to kill a high rate of inquest. With the event up, I was gaining approximately 28 gold per hour. Without the event active, it was about half the rate. With a bit of downtime between event activations, it worked out to be between 18 and 20 gold per hour, though it may vary. It is clear to see that the 3 to 6 gold number we have been fed by AFK farmers for years was a complete lie, or simply the parroting of very outdated information. This would only be an accurate number for the minority of AFK farmers that park in obscure locations to kill a small pack of enemies. These hourly rates are still low compared to other farming methods. However, when you consider these players are doing literally nothing and farming for many hours a day, it really adds up. 520 out of 567, or 91% of accounts, were all found at 5 different farming locations. We will use this majority to figure out a good hourly average income for AFK farmers as a whole. They would be generating about 6,600 gold per hour. Averaging this between 520 accounts, we get 12.71 gold per account per hour. This is where multiboxing starts to play a big role. Many players will multibox multiple accounts to AFK farm. This can multiplicatively amplify the hourly rates for a single player. On average, the multibox AFK farms I have discovered are between 3 and 10 accounts. With our 12.71 gold per hour estimate, each multibox farm can be between 305 to 1016 gold for an 8-hour farming session while sleeping. On the extreme side, the largest multibox farm I have found has 29 accounts. Their farming location is 14.22 gold per hour. This, over an 8-hour period, is 3,299 gold. I have observed them for 27 days, estimating a total profit to their owner of 89,074 gold, assuming an 8-hour daily farming period. In all, I have observed 567 AFK farming accounts on North American servers. These accounts combined could be bringing in 7,206 gold an hour, and that's just the AFK farmers I could locate. Accounting for European servers, we can make a game-wide estimate of approximately 1,134 AFK farming accounts. These accounts all farming would be generating about 14,413 gold per hour, or 345,915 gold in a day. Most AFK farmers who are smart and trying to avoid detection will farm for only around maybe 8 hours a day periodically. If this is the case for all accounts, this brings the daily income down to 115,305 gold. To put this in perspective, open world meta events generate the vast majority of materials and gold in Guild Wars 2. Looking at all meta events using the Fast Farming community website, if the 20 most profitable meta events have a very generous 6 full maps across the game every single time the events are active, that's 1,200 players on every single meta event, they will produce 2,491,000 gold. Comparing our high estimate for the meta events with our AFK farmers comparatively are generating close to an extra 5% on the low end or 14% on the high end. With this said, we would need real-world participation and profit numbers, which would only be attainable by ArenaNet, to make a concrete comparison on how much of the game's total economy the AFK farmers attribute. Other than inflating the game's economy and breaking the terms of service, why are AFK farmers bad?
We have effectively destroyed the value of potent venom sacs and powerful venom sacs, but what have we not destroyed the value of? Well, it's going to be the totems. You know how much the totems cost now? Guys, we gotta go as a community and start getting these prices down because this is way too high.
While this may be perceived as a good thing, it punishes active players who obtain the same materials legitimately, as now they are unable to profit as much for their work. Other market factors can impact prices significantly. However, mass-producing materials through AFK farming certainly doesn't help. AFK farmers, all in the same location, can also make it really difficult for players to form groups for meta events in the open world. When 1/3 to 1/2 of the map is AFK farming, you're really going to struggle with some events, especially during off hours. Lastly, it's such an eyesore. Guild Wars 2 has some of the most beautiful maps out of all MMOs. Imagine you're an unsuspecting player exploring the world, perhaps doing your first map completion, and then you see this. It really makes for a poor gaming experience for all players. But what does ArenaNet do about this breach of policy? Due to the lack of action taken, ArenaNet seemingly don't care. It's a comment that you'll see under any AFK farming topic on Reddit, YouTube, or the forums. Whether they don't care, lack resources, or can't keep up with the influx of new AFK farming accounts, we don't know. At the start of my data collection, I spoke to GM Claude about AFK farming and how they deal with it. GM Claude stated that we are investigating all accounts in the game for such activities regularly. Even if the support team does not receive reports, we are investigating all accounts in the game and immediate actions are taken after the investigation. It sounds promising enough. This was on April the 26th. Let's see how many accumulative days in the last month some of these AFK farmers have been seen. It looks like they're doing a really great job, doesn't it? I can confirm though that a very small amount of the AFK farming accounts that I have been seeing regularly have been suspended, be it permanent or temporary. Only time will tell if they appear again. While editing this video, I actually came across GM Claude investigating the 29 account multibox along with a few other multiboxes and AFK farming players. 48 accounts total AFK farming. Guess what Claude did? That's right, absolutely nothing. All accounts were recorded the following days as usual. If I've learned anything from this investigation, it's that ArenaNet really do not seem to care if you AFK farm. Yes, it's against the terms of service in all ways, shapes and forms, but they really don't care. You might get a suspension for doing so, but the chances are evidently very low. To prove this point, my account named literally AFK farming on the character ban me for AFK has been completely AFK farming many hours per day since I started this project. It is yet to be banned, let alone even noticed by ArenaNet. I highly advise against AFK farming, as it is against the terms of service and your account will be at risk. I hope this video brings to light the truth of AFK farming and how much gold is actually being generated unfairly. If you do decide to start AFK farming because of this video, the spreadsheet will likely be your new home. Thank you for watching.